folks, welcome to the Ultimate Business Summit webinar. We are so glad you're joining us here today. We'll get a big crowd. We already have Charles and Paul. We can always count on them to be first in the room, and we appreciate you being here. I'm Larry Winget, and I want to be the first to welcome you. You guys go ahead and welcome them too.
Yeah, I'm Randy Pennington. I'll be the second to welcome you, and it is always great to see you. And you're right, Larry, we can always count on Charles and Paul.
Same here. Thanks, everybody. I'm really glad that you are here, and we are going to be talking about some of the challenges that you face in business and trying to provide some insights, some ideas to help you improve your business and grow yourself personally and professionally as well. So that's what we're all about today. As you know, we also host the Ultimate Business Summit. Hi, Susan. Hi, Ted. As you know, we also host the Ultimate Business Summit here in Las Vegas. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later on. This is not going to be a sales commercial for the entire time about it, but we do want to let you know that we do have the Ultimate Business Summit, and here's just a little bit on the summit right now.
Entrepreneur, business leader, are you fed up with the challenges that you face in your business? Quit struggling with those problems. We are proud to present the Ultimate Business Summit. It's specific to your challenges. It's dynamic in the presentation. About 90% of attendees return for more. You'll learn 100 specific steps to grow. So go now, ultimatebusinesssummit.com. It's your chance to learn and grow yourself and your business. That's ultimatebusinesssummit.com. August 16th and 17th in Las Vegas. Learn more on our website. Register now.
And today we want to talk about several of the business challenges that everybody is facing. Peter just joined us. Hey, Peter, good to see you. We want to talk about several of the business challenges that people are facing today that we see from all kinds of businesses out there. Obviously, these are the kinds of things we're going to talk about at the summit, but we want to give you really practical ideas that you can focus on today. So what are those challenges? Well, let me just kind of review a few of them with you, and then we'll jump into this thing. The first one it's a real important one. How do you stand out in a crowded marketplace when everybody has a pretty good product or service? At least all your competitors are about as good as you are. Second big challenge that we're seeing from everyone we speak with is how do we find, how do we keep, retain, and how do we engage great people? The talent that you have is the key to your success. Third one, how do we get enough prospects? And then how do we turn them into actual customers? If you saw Scott this week, Scott did a great piece. Scott, congratulations. That was a great piece on the difference between a prospect and a customer at Starbucks, but they're not the same. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how do you attract those people? What do you do with change? What do you do with disruption? The competitor that you have is not the one that's is not the one that's going to disrupt you. It's probably going to be the one that you don't know yet. It's how do we build accountability into the organization? And finally, the other big one that we see everywhere is how do you take the values that hang on the wall? So the real challenge is not the words that you put on the wall. The real challenge is how do you turn those into behaviors and performance that deliver results. So those are a few of the things that we're going to talk about today. Larry, I'm going to turn it over to you.
What I like about what we've just given you there, those are the same things that we see businesses that we deal with facing every single day. And that's really what this is all about. And it's the reason that we came together with the Ultimate Business Summit. We created this event and this summit for small businesses to get together and have a chance to discuss the things that they're facing and that we are dealing with the companies that we're speaking to and coaching and consulting with. And the reason you are here is because we know, regardless what you say, you're dealing with all those same things too. Scott, tell them a little bit about the Insider page and what that really is if some of them are not a part of it.
We have a Facebook page that is free to join, and it's UBS Insiders. So all you need to do is to take a look at Facebook, search for UBS Insider. You can click and apply to join. We're trying to develop a community entrepreneurs, of leaders, of managers who will proceed and take action to make their businesses better. That's been the result of the Ultimate Business Summit, and we're trying to have a voice there on Facebook to do the same. So let's get started with the topics that we're covering here. The first one is going to be how to stand out. Larry, I've got some ideas on that, but why don't we go back to you and let you start off with what does it take to stand out in today's hyper-competitive marketplace?
Well, first of all, I think you wear shirts like this, and you will always stand out in the crowd, and maybe grow your mustache like that, and that will help you stand out in the crowd too. I've never had a problem standing out in the crowd because I don't look like everybody else. But as far as most people are concerned, one of the things that I'm kind of well known for saying is discover your uniqueness and learn to exploit it in the service of others. Most people believe they know their uniqueness, but it doesn't matter what you believe about yourself. Your customers have the answer to that. So if you're struggling with that, ask your customers. They have the answer. They do business with you instead of somebody else for a reason. Ask them why they do business with you and how you stand out from the others.
Thanks, Steve. Hey, Steven Sparrow, great to see you as well. We didn't say hi to you. Always good to see you. So in talking about what makes you stand out, one of the things that we found for the research of the book, Create Distinction, and the book I've got coming, Iconic, is that it doesn't take a bunch of things to separate you from the competition. It's being innovative in one particular area. In recorded history, no customer has ever said, I love doing business with them. They're exactly like the competition. It's finding something that is separate and unique and compelling about doing business with you. Now, let me make a very important point here, and I think you guys will agree. I've heard it said that different is better. And I don't know that there's anything I disagree with more than that statement. Different is not better. Different is different. If I slap every customer in the face, it makes me different. It does not mean those customers are going to come back and do any business with me. So the fundamental point is going to be, how do you create something that is more compelling, that is unique, that is innovative in the marketplace, that attracts customers? Many years ago, the late great Jim Rohn said that what you attract is better than what you pursue. The success you attract into your life is better than what you pursue. And I think that same philosophy works in business and works with customers. The customers that we attract because of our innovative approaches, because of our integrity, because of the things that we do, because of the uniqueness that we bring to the marketplace, those customers we attract because of that will be infinitely more valuable in terms of their lifetime business than those we've had to track down, beat over the head, beg, borrow, steal, cut our price, do all those kinds of things that some businesses think is required to bring customers in the marketplace. Larry, I see you smiling. I know you have more.
No, I do have more. I have a question for all of you guys, you two guys. Don't you think that most people, when they try to stand out, what they try to do is just overhaul everything they're doing, and they change everything? So, they're going to be so different that they say, we don't look like anybody. And all they really need to do to differentiate, to find distinction, to find their uniqueness, sometimes it's a tweak that's that big. A small tweak will allow you to do that. Randy, what do you think?
Yeah, I kept going back to the thought that I had when you were talking, Larry, and Scott too. There's a very fine line between being different and being weird. And you're right, Larry. A lot of times I think businesses try to overhaul everything. And when they do, they end up looking weird to customers because, customers want you to be unique and compelling, but they don't want you to be so unfamiliar to them that they go, well, wait a minute, this is not a company I want to do business with. They don't do what I do. So, but the key is that the only things that really matter are the things that are important to your customers. I posted, if you watch the UBS Insider today, I posted an article about Netflix, and that how Netflix became a company that is, their customers are obsessed about them because they first started off being obsessed about their customer and doing those things that their customer absolutely values.
Real quick, one of the things that strikes me is that I hear people all the time talking about commoditization and how can you be different in that world. And some of you heard me use the example that in the rental car business, the product is identical. The Ford I get from Avis is identical to the Ford I get from Hertz. And to piggyback on what you said, Randy, what the Taylor family in St. Louis did is they made a list of every single point of contact they had with the customer. There's 13 of them. And they looked at the 13 points of customer contact and they picked one. How does the customer access the product? And they said, let's do it differently than everybody in the business. And the Taylor family still owns that little rental car business called Enterprise Rental Car. And the car's the same. But that tweak that you were talking about, Larry, they did one different thing. They brought the car to the customer rather than making the customer come get the car. They pick you up. And doing that one thing has made all the difference in the world to them. To emphasize what Larry was saying, and I think is so true, it is just finding something that you can do. Now, the problem is we get so used to doing things the way we've always done them, that makes it incredibly difficult for us to change. People don't want to change, and I know we're talking about change a little bit later on in the program, so we'll get back to that as we go.
All right, now number two, and I'm going to turn this primarily to you two, even though I'm sure I'll figure out something to say, is, guys, how do you think that we really find, keep, and engage people? People seem to be the biggest issue that most folks are having right now, whether it's hiring them and there's a shortage of employees, or keeping the ones they've got and getting, we hear it all the time, employee buy-in. And then once you get them and you know they're good, somebody's going to try to steal them from you, or they're going to become bored and go away. So how do you deal with those things? Randy, why don't you go?
Yeah, let's start with, how do you find people? Because one of the things that I've learned from not only our clients, but watching other clients, is companies are always recruiting. Great companies are always recruiting. They're always on the lookout for the next talent. Now, from a large company, that's perspective, that's how do they create their brand? And how are they always out there looking for great people? Now, in small businesses, though, I mean, I've seen small businesses do things like, you know, an electrician client of mine a few years back walked into a Lowe's hardware store and found somebody that he thought was pretty good. And he said, hey, have you ever thought about being an electrician? And the guy gave great service to him. He said, you ever thought about being an electrician? The guy said, well, no, I hadn't thought about it. And he said, well, here's my card. If you ever do, call me. I want to talk to you. We'll send you to school. And, you know, it's that idea of, you hire attitude, you teach skills, but you're always looking for talent. You're always on the outlook for that. You're always watching around. And then the other part of that is, how do you find great people? You know, it's always interesting. When I ask people where would they like to work, their ideal job, they say places like Google and Facebook and, you know, really cool companies. They always choose places where people are doing exciting work. Even if it's blue collar manual labor type work, it's exciting work. It's a fun place to be. Scott, what do you think?
Boy, I echo what you say there, Randy. I tell the story of a buddy of mine, Bob Brockelman. And Bob is an executive with Farm Credit Banks of Wichita. And one of Bob's responsibilities is recruiting on college campuses. And he said, I will promise you, there is no kid laying in the dorm room. There's no guy laying in this fraternity. There's no guy laying in his bed in the sorority, staring at the ceiling, praying to God that someday they can go to work for Farm Credit. Right? I mean, they want to go to work for Google, like you said. They want to go to work for Apple. They want to go to work. So he said, our job is to create the kind of organizational culture that will attract these people. And it gets back to attraction versus pursuit. I get tired of people saying, you know, and I hear it all the time, you guys do too, oh, there's no good people out there to hire. No, it's that the good people don't want to work for you. And it's finding a way to make it attractive for your employees to want to work with you. Now, what does that mean? Typically, the old school way of thinking is we got to pay them more. And every research, don't get me wrong, pay is not irrelevant. I'm not suggesting that at any stage. But what we've got to do is to find a way to make it more compelling. Is there a career path? Are your jobs, you know, is there a career path within your organization, or are the jobs disposable? I wrote about FedEx, where they have both levels, right? Many of the people loading planes are college students with a second job, or somebody looking for extra money at Christmas. They want to make that a great place to work, make money, have fun, but it's going to be a short-term situation. They create a different type of situation for the people that they want to move through the chairs and have a career path. But the main thing is that they, and we'll get back to this later, They are very clear about who they are. They're very clear about what they want, what they expect from employees, and they make it a great culture to work in, and that in turn attracts. Larry?
Let me jump in on just quickly on this. Where do you find great people? With the people you already have. I think that's the best place you go to find people. Everybody who's good and works for you right now knows somebody. And I think it's always good to ask the people who are working there, not the crappy employees. You should have already fired the crappy employees, but ask your good employees if they know people. And chances are they do. We all know somebody right now. Every single one of you could write down the name of somebody you know that's a good human being with good values, who knows how to show up on time with good work ethic and so forth, who's looking for a job or looking for a better job. I know Scott could, so could Randy. We could all do that. If you went to the people that are good who work for you and asked them to suggest folks, that's a great way to find new people. Bo just said, I hear you, but it's getting harder with the millennial generation. You know, every study out there about millennials, and I read a lot and talk a lot about millennials, and everybody thinks I'm really negative about them. No, I'm only negative about the third that are really stupid. There are 2/3 of them who are terrific. But I think millennials on the whole get a really bad rap on this. But millennials care about one thing. They want to feel like they are a part of something that matters. They are more interested in feeling like they belong to an organization that is doing something that matters than they are in their paycheck. That's what the studies are telling them. So you have to, telling all of us, so you have to give over the idea to the millennial generation that they are a part. And that comes down to keeping them involved, keeping them engaged, talking to them. They want to be treated like people.
One of the things that I hear all the time from millennials is I remember what a rite of passage it was. The first Thanksgiving, I got this set at the adults table, right? There was the kids table, and that's where you ate family dinners. The adults had one table, the kids had another table. And now many families don't have the kids table. In other words, they've been sitting with the adults all along. So now they arrive at work and they don't understand that there's a separate table over here because you're not grown up in the business. And you're exactly right. They want to be engaged. They want to be involved. Sometimes that's a frustration for those of us that say you got to pay your dues. You got to start at the bottom, work your way up. My first job, the boss grunted at me in the hall and I thought, still employed, right? I didn't want feedback because feedback usually meant bad. And I think you're exactly right. We have to change our approach, just as the generation that preceded the baby boomers had to change when baby boomers were saying don't trust someone over 30. Hey, Randy, here's a great question from Celia. What do you do when you're looking for very specific talent that's hard to come by? What would you say to that?
Depending upon the level of expertise in that talent, I would say find somebody that's good and teach them. So, I mean, if it doesn't require something that's tremendously a long period of time to train and what have you, I mean, one of the things you can do is find somebody who wants to do that, teach them how to do that job. I think that's a great way. You see that right now with some communities are putting people through medical school if you'll commit to come being a doctor in their little town that can't get a doctor. So, I mean, yeah, it's a longer term strategy. So again, it depends on, Cecilia, tell me what kind of job you're talking about, because it really is job specific. I once recruited a child psychiatrist to come to a hospital in a town where nobody wanted to come. But we figured out a way to make it worth his while to get there. It took a long time, took us 1.5 years. In the meantime, we had to contract with people. But, you can do it if you're willing to.
All right. So, and moving on, because we have a whole list of things that we'd like to cover here in the next little while. How do we attract enough prospects and then turn them into customers? Randy, what do you think?
We'll start with how you attract prospects. You attract prospects by being known for being distinctive, the things that you and Scott just talked about at the very beginning. You've got to be able to do that. The other part of it is you can't argue with a good marketing campaign to attract people. I just wrote this in the idea shots this week. Florida Orange Juice did those commercials about Florida oranges. Scott, I think even you would agree for the most part, the orange that goes into an orange juice is an orange, is an orange, is an orange. But yet Florida said ours are different. And every time they marketed that, even though they were a commodity, they're sold as a commodity, guess what? Revenue went up. So, you have to have that consistent message as far as attracting prospects. The other part, as far as turning them into it, I think we got to switch the model of selling.
Yeah, Randy, I totally agree with you about that. We have been talking features and benefits for so long, and I know more about features and benefits, and you do, and everybody else does, than most salespeople do. What it really comes down to, do we understand what problems the customer are having, and do we get the pain that those problems are causing? And when they see us, the customer sees us as understanding their problems and having a solution that will alleviate the pain, and we are able to articulate that, whether it be in person or through our advertising or so forth, then we are seen of value to them. And what I believe selling is prospecting is just building a reputation so people say, that's a person or company of value, and we are attracted to them. And then the funnel that drives them from prospect to customer is you disqualifying whether they have enough money, whether you want to work with them, and a whole list of other things that drives it down to you choosing the customer. But if they are going to be attracted to you and become a prospect for you when they see the value you bring in alleviating the pain that is caused by the problem that they know that you or your product and service is the solution to. I posted the other day a little meme, and it's been said a million different ways, that we are prescribing our solution long before we're diagnosing the pain. And in selling, that really is sales malpractice. And so often companies are out there saying, this is what we do, you need that. And everybody here is, if you follow me at all, you've heard me rant about LinkedIn and how people say, Larry, immediately when you connect with them, let me help you become an author. I've written 6 bestsellers. Let me help you become a better speaker. Really? After all these years, what have you got for me? And that is pretty typical. I'm hard on the LinkedIn folks, but I think that's pretty typical of the way most businesses approach the market.
Totally agree. Hey, let me jump in for a second. I want to make sure we're dealing with what's here on the chat. Susan, you're talking about very important there. It gets back to what we're saying about, right? Hire for attitude, hire for all of those things, and train for skill. Stephen, with talent management being key, that reminded me of something. When I was a kid and was a national officer of a student organization, I got to meet the chairman of General Motors, and I asked him the question, GM probably hired 1,000 people the day that you went to work. Why did you end up to be the chairman? And he said, they couldn't promote me if I hadn't trained someone to take my place. If no one was ready to take my place, how in the world could I get promoted? So he said, I was always working to make somebody, help develop them to be good enough that I could get promoted. And he said, by the time they had to decide who the next chairman was going to be, he said the unintended benefit was I had this reservoir of goodwill of people who really wanted me to achieve because I'd helped them achieve. So it gets back exactly, Stephen, to what you're saying. Randy, here's a question for you. It says in industries like healthcare, how do we convince the decision makers that the human aspect is as important to success as technological clinical excellence?
In healthcare, that's one of the most challenging things to do. I mean, they'll spend $6 million on a new machine, new piece of technology, but won't spend $6,000 to send somebody to a training session. So it's very, very difficult. Here's one of the things in healthcare that's changed. And then I want to go back and talk about attitude for a second. One of the things in healthcare has changed is to get reimbursed in healthcare now. Part of that is based on, according to the Affordable Care Act, how your customers, how your patients view the service. So if your customers in healthcare don't view the service as being outstanding, and I got to tell you, I mean, you can love the Affordable Care Act or hate it, but where I live, the level of service in healthcare and the human element has gone up because now it's been tied to how do they get reimbursed, and people doing surveys all the time. So that's one of the things I would point to with healthcare people is, it's going to help you get reimbursed. Now, the other part is, I want to go back to something Cheryl said, hire for attitude, teach skills. I want to add one more piece, and it applies to everything. I think we also have to hire for altitude. One of the big challenges, I was on the phone this morning with a CEO, and here's what he told me. He said, our business, we're trying to go from a $50 million business to a $100 million business. And what I'm starting to realize is that the people who were good at 50 million may not be good at 100 million. How do I grow their headroom? How do I grow they're great there, but they're sort of topped out. To use the old basketball analogy, you can't teach tall. But how do you make people taller? And so I think you've got to look for people with a high altitude as well as with a great attitude.
All right, let's move on. But before we do, I'm going to comment on Seth. You said, I don't sell, I'm a resource. Seth, that works up to a point. Remember this, resources get used. And sometimes people who don't sell get used too much. At some point, you have to stop getting used as a resource and ask them to spend money with you. Build a better mousetrap. Remember that old cliche? And the world will beat a path to your door. That's a lie. You have to ask people to buy that mousetrap. And the mousetraps that sell the most are not the best. They are the ones that get sold. So be hesitant with that. I'm just a resource stuff. Okay, guys, this one's for you. I'm going to leave this to Scott and Randy because this is truly your area. How do we keep up with change and disruption? And remember, this is a short webinar. So
the genesis of all disruption is dissatisfaction. And it gets back to what you were saying about customers. No disruption happens without a dissatisfaction as the seed. We didn't like standing in the rain, frantically waving at yellow cars to get into a smelly vehicle with a driver that couldn't understand us, and we didn't know if they were taking us on the right route or not. Nobody loved that. But boy, the taxi companies, particularly in New York City, for example, loved how much they were making as the price of the taxi medallion went up and up and up. The customer dissatisfaction is what is the genesis of all of that. So we had always thought we would go forever to the store and buy an album, and then we'd get a CD, but that got replaced by downloading. Downloading got replaced by streaming, so we could have it all, whatever we want all the time. So the problem, and this is what my next book is about to a great degree, is the problem is we as business people and we as business leaders aren't aggressive enough in finding out what pisses off our customers. We will ask them the question, that trite question, would you recommend us to your friends? But we won't say, what did we do that pissed you off? Or until we find that out, we don't get at the dissatisfaction that causes us to be disrupted.
I agree with most of that, Scott. Because, I go back to, I think you look at the iPhone. Now, you two guys are iPhone guys. I'm an Android guy. But look at the iPhone. I don't think people were pissed off about smartphones.
Steve Jobs said they were. Steve Jobs said they were. That was the Steve Jobs quote. We hated our phones. I'm not sure
that they were. I mean, I don't think they had ever imagined it until they saw it. I mean, I think part of it is that if you look at the Uber, I think you're exactly right. But if you look at some form of disruption, is people have learned how to deliver. People weren't dissatisfied going to a bookstore. What they really loved, though, was the opportunity to get a book cheaper without having to go anywhere. And I don't know that they knew that was possible until Amazon did it. So, I mean, I think one of the things that are around disruption, I mean, I think there's a lot of it's because people are just complacent. I've said the only reason people are disrupted is because there's a catastrophe that you couldn't see coming. And so I think there's really a combination.
See, Randy, I disagree with you. And here's the reason why. If you look at the disruptions, I mean, who liked going to a bookstore? You're saying that, well, we didn't know we were dissatisfied, which is part of the job of the disruptor, is to illuminate the dissatisfaction. Steve Jobs did say, we we hated our phones. We didn't did anybody love that little Motorola that they had? Well, no, we didn't know anything else was available, but the first people to discover dissatisfaction are the first people that are going to be on the lines of disruption. The problem is we don't want to hear what customers are dissatisfied about us. I mean, that's been a fundamental problem, I think, with most leaders and most managers. We think that if an employee brings us a negative, it's the employee that's negative, not the situation. And so
I agree with 100%.
What we have to do,
you guys, for a minute, and we're going to move on after we answer Paul's question, because he asked an excellent question here. Do disruptive companies create dissatisfaction?
yes.
People sometimes don't know they're pissed off until something else better comes along. So
Great question, and that's the job of disruptive companies, because part of what, it's just like playing offense and defense. And that kind of companies always are on the offense. And part of how you do that is to find ways to illuminate dissatisfaction in your competition. Because number one, it's going to create customer dissatisfaction that might not have been there in the marketplace to begin with. But the second thing is it puts your opposition, it puts your competitor in the defensive, because the natural response of most organizations, almost every organization, is to defend its turf. Let's defend the product we're already making. Let's defend the process of dealing with the customer that we already have. And so by defending what we're doing, we play right into the hands of the disruptor.
love hearing different perspectives with valid opinions across the board. Mark, you might not be familiar with us. That is the whole purpose here. We don't always see things alike. And I do think that's what makes it interesting for you as well as for us. You know, if we were all just alike, you wouldn't need but one of us here. And we all have different areas of expertise, different backgrounds. We talk about different things and on different things. And we believe the fact that we can respectfully disagree and be able to back up our opinion is what makes it interesting for you, and we hope that you enjoy that. The next point, how do we build accountability into our organization? Randy, you're all about tracking. I know that, and then I'll give it a shot. So you hit it quick.
Well, I mean, my whole thing is that accountability is about ownership. And for ownership to happen, you have to make performance a matter of choice. I mean, there's 3 reasons why people basically don't do things. One is they don't know they're supposed to. Second is they don't know how. Third is they just choose not to. If it's a don't know they're supposed to, that's your fault. If it's they don't want to and you're allowing it, that's your fault. If there's something in the way they would like to, but they can't, it's a training issue or a barrier issue or whatever that might be, that's the thing that you got to work on, because that is how you make performance a matter of choice. When you get choice, you get ownership. When you get ownership, you get accountability.
Well, my comment on that, and I totally agree with you about your 3 points there, is that people take responsibility and are accountable when they want to be that way, not when you want them to be that way. I think it's really hard to force somebody to take responsibility for their actions. They will only take responsibility for their actions when there is no other choice. And I think we are right now in a culture, and we're in a business culture right now, where people do not want to lean too hard. We're afraid we'll hurt their feelings. We are afraid they will sue us. And I think that there is the carrot and the whip approach. And I believe that the problem with that whole thing is that the carrot has to continue to get sweeter and the whip has to get bigger, or the stick has to get bigger, and that's going to create an issue. But there must be a consequence, and consequences drive behavior. If there's no consequence for not taking responsibility, it is people's nature not to do so. When there is a consequence, they will take responsibility.
I think that one of the challenges is that we aren't holding people accountable anymore. We are so afraid of.
You agree with me? You agree with me?
Yeah, I do. I think the carrot and stick has become the carrot and candy, and there is no stick anymore, and we're terrified of it. And that is one of the challenges that we're facing. It's nice and nicer.
The biggest problem that I see, and I mean, Larry knows I've been I started off in the consulting business designing discipline programs that are defensible and get rid of people quickly and positively. And the biggest challenge I saw then, 30 years ago, the same one I see today. People wait too long.
Amen.
People wait too long. There's a thing called the Las Vegas law. Las Vegas law says you never bet on a loser because you think his luck's bound to change. If they're a loser at 90 days and you've done what you're supposed to do, you need to cut them loose. I mean, that's the point where that should be their best foot forward the first 90 days that was there. If that's marginal, it's not going to get any better.
All right. So how do you turn the values that hang on your wall into the behavior that drives results? You know, my last book was all about the collapse of core values. Here's the deal. I really think people are the way they are because that's how they want to be. And if you want good results from people, you hire people with the right core values of honesty and integrity. And those things are not as easy to teach as skills, for sure. That's some of what we've been talking about here. Honesty, integrity, a good work ethic, kindness, and so forth. And that's what we have to get back to. And that is something I believe that I could, Randy alluded to this when we first started here, that I could walk into your business, all of us could, and we would know what the values of your business are simply based on how your business treats me and how your employees treat me.
As you know, we have the Ultimate Business Summit, and we want to just share with you real quickly what some of the people that have attended the Ultimate Business Summit have had to say, and then we'll tell you about a special offer that we have for you as someone that was here with us today on the webinar, if you'd like to come and be a part of our event.
Hi, my name is Victor Fimbres, and I'm from Dallas, Texas, and I own a swimming pool construction company. We've gotten a lot of takeaways about how to run our business with our core values and what we strongly believe in.
Hi, I'm Tammy Mitchell. I'm with Sterling Oaks Properties. I feel like I'm at the ultimate epic mastermind. They're really raising that level of accountability and really challenging our thinking. From the moment I got here, our first activity, there are action items for me to take away.
Hi, I'm Erica with Envisioning Green. We're a landscape construction company out of St. Louis, Missouri. The expectations that we did have were far, far exceeded. I can't even begin to say what we learned because we learned so many things. Really pushing in with our core values and what we are as a company is going to be something that we really, really look into doing.
Hi, I'm Paul. I'm from the UK. I've travelled to Las Vegas. It's been mind-blowing. Never thought I'd get a chance to see these guys because of what they charge to have an event, to come to an event like this. It's quite surreal, but it's brilliant. Taking away so much information from all of them. Just the stuff they talk about, it's outstanding. Anybody running a business needs to be here. The next one, come to it. It's worth every single penny and multiples of that. It's just an amazing event. Really excited to see what they've got to do for the next day, because if it's anything like this, it's going to be mind-blowing.
August 16th and 17th, the Ultimate Business Summit. And by the way, if you like the fact that we share different opinions today, you're going to love the summit because that's the best thing about it. It's all three of us all the time and talking about the things that you want to talk about. But then we do an exercise very early in the day that we identify what are the issues you want to make sure we walk away with and that you have answers to. And our commitment to you is that we're going to hit every single one of those issues over the course of the day and a half, a little over a day and a half we're together. In addition to that, we're going to share 100 specific ideas, very much like the ones that you heard today, except they're going to be written out for you to take away with you. 100 ideas that you can use to grow your business, get more customers, find better employees, create a great culture, stop doing things that shoot yourself in the foot. I mean, it's very tactical and tangible. So it's August 16th and 17th. Scott?
It's ultimatebusinesssummit.com for all the information. Ultimatebusinesssummit.com. You know, if you don't go, you don't know. There is a reason about 90% of the people that came previously have already signed up to come back. 90% of the people that have gone to the summit in the past are signing up to come back. We know it's going to be a powerful event, and we'd love to have you.
It's ultimatebusinesssummit.com. We hope that you've had heard some great ideas today, because we love having the chance to work with people who are out on the front lines actually doing work. So we hope you'll join us August 16th and 17th at the Ultimate Business Summit in cool Las Vegas that day. So Scott, I think we're out of here. Let's be done.
Thanks for being here for the program, everybody. We look forward to seeing you in August in Vegas at the Ultimate Business Summit.
Registration is now open for the 2018 Ultimate Business Summit. And like last year's program, this year's summit will be awesome. You'll learn 100 specific ideas on how to grow your business, like how to stand out from the competition, how to get employees to take responsibility and ensure accountability, how to get better results in less time with more personal satisfaction. We promise your biggest challenges will be specifically addressed. You'll leave with a precise action plan on what to do next. That's why about 90% of last year's attendees have already signed up to come back. If you don't go, you won't know. Register now at ultimatebusinesssummit.com and block the dates August 16 and 17 in Las Vegas. This may be the best thing you've ever done for your business and yourself. Learn 100 specific ways to grow your business at the Ultimate Business Summit.